What's going on? Live from Houston, Texas. My name is John Ting, immigration attorney with Ting Law Group, here to answer any of your questions and also really to prevent your problems, not just solve your problems, okay, for immigration related. And there's so many things going on with with immigration. Just today, there was an official email news release from USCIS, Department of Homeland Security, that is providing a more streamlined process to provide parole to Venezuelans. So we're going to talk more about that later. But if you have questions about it, happy to answer the best to my knowledge. But yeah, just want to give an example of why we have this live show now every day, because it's just so much going on with USCIS and Department of State, including National Visa Center. Not typically our best friend, unfortunately, due to case delays with the interviews. Okay. Well, we do offer a free 15-minute preliminary discussion with one of our attorneys. It might not be with me. Okay. It just might depend on a day. But our attorneys, our associate attorneys, are qualified to help you to see if they can, if we as a team can help you. Okay. Even if it's a free guide, by the way, you can go to our website, greencardguys.com, download one of these free guides. Okay. For example, we have one about mandamus lawsuit, okay, that we filed to the federal courts because of case delays. All right. So that's an example. You can check out our website and just scroll down, typically scroll down below. And to unlock those free 15 minutes, by the way, we do have a secret code that we share with you towards the end of the show. We'll be on for at least 15 minutes, okay, depending how many questions. But the main topic for today. So what I'm going to try to do for moving forward um, with these live shows is to also really just focus on at least one topic, okay? But of course, happy to answer any questions if it's different. But for today, I want to talk about marriage cases, okay? But not just marriage cases. Really, what I mean is that what should you do if you have more than one option to apply, okay? Because there's some people, I say marriage cases to get your attention, but it could be, for example, you have someone else that can file for you. It could be an employer to file for H-1B or a temporary work visa, another type, or even for residency. And I hear a lot. We as a team, including our carriers team and attorneys, we unfortunately hear a lot of negative stories. Okay. That's why they're calling us. Okay. So we're happy to see if we can point you in the right direction, prevent those problems, or solve them. But when you have another option called VAWA, Violence Against Women Act, which, by the way, is not just for women, for the female gender, it's also for men. Um, but if you have that, or you have something like U visa, which means you're a victim of a crime, which you need to report that to the law enforcement. You call 911 to to get them to the scene, okay, to the incident, and so you can write your report, okay. Share that with the law enforcement officer. It might not just be police; it could be a sheriff, for example, or deputy, constable deputy. So just want to, and I share this because if you have, there's so many problems that we hear about, all right, that can derail your case, unfortunately. And you may have waited so many years. For example, it's a family preference case, F1 through 4. The most common one is through F4 through your sibling. And that takes, let me see if I can share an example here. But that generally, on average, takes about, let me pull up the visa bulletin, about 10 years. Okay. That's a long time. And so when you have something like that, or even if it is a marriage cases to U.S. citizen or sponsored by a U.S. citizen, it it does not take 10 years, right? It's not supposed to. Some of y'all call us and say it's been taking like 3 to 5 years. That is a huge problem, by the way. If you didn't think about that, That's not common. Okay. So in that kind of typically in that kind of scenario, you want to file a mandamus lawsuit to have the force of government speed it up a bit. Okay, so I'm pulling up the visa bulletin, which kind of gives us a better idea of how long to wait. Let me share my screen. Let me just share it real quick so you have a better idea, and then I'll go into the situation here. Go into the situation room. All right. So okay, so you can see here there's this is chart B. There's two charts A and B. Oh boy. So if you file your petition, let's say December 2007, then this is when it's going to kick off to say, okay, you can move forward to the next step. If you're watching our channel, if you're a regular subscriber or you follower, you've most likely heard me talk about this. No one likes dealing with the visa bulletin because you have to constantly check. And if you miss it, unfortunately, your priority date, you're going to have to start over. You have 1 year when your priority date hits this, basically. So anyway, this is a long time, right? Even if it's F2B category, January 2017, what is that, 4 or 5 years? So either way, I'm sharing this because if you have the possibility to file for U visa or VAWA, those are just two prime examples because we've been recently getting a lot more calls about that. And especially when someone has maybe a petition already filed before them by another family member, or about considering to file based on marriage to a U.S. citizen. And you know, I've helped a lot of folks. Our law firm has helped a lot of folks for divorces. Okay, we do help some domestic violence agencies, and here in Houston and Dallas. Previously, when my law firm was up there permanently, but yeah, my hair is a bit of a mess today. Anyone have a bad hair day sometimes? It's not too bad today, I guess. But I say this because not all marriages last, right? So, of course, you do your vows, and you both hope that marriages last forever until you pass, till death do you part. But or how you say that, I forgot now. Maybe it's too long for me. Um, so, anyways, because we have calls of people that need to remove conditions, or they were in the process, already started with the filing, already filed their residency paperwork application 485, and then did not get the status after all, right? Because they end up getting divorced. And the thing is with U visa and VAWA, you don't want to wait too long. Okay, so let's say, for example, the incident happened last month. Sure, if you wait a couple months, there's no technically a restriction on timing, but because the U visa and VAWA cases take a long time in general, mostly the U visa, because of the processing times. Or I'm sorry, not necessarily processing time, because of the limitation. The visa maximum number of visas allowed for U visa is controlled by Congress. Okay, and that's 10,000 U visas per year, and it may sound like a lot, but it's actually not enough because the processing wait times is at least 5 years. But that alone is not the reason to strategize. But in terms of that, but it's really to strategize based on the certification that you need to get from the law enforcement agency. So that right there, what I just said, long story short, that is the main thing, the main takeaway, the timing to get the U visa certification form signed by law enforcement. And a lot of these law enforcement agencies, they have their own internal policy. For example, they could say, okay, if the incident was more than a year ago, they're not going to sign off on the certification form. This is not a form that they prepare typically. I've never heard about that they would fill it out themselves. You could fill out yourself. I hope you know what you're doing. It's 918B. You can find that on the USCIS website. But of course, um, there's many law firms and nonprofits that could possibly help you. Um, it'd be on our honor if we can point you in the right direction. But the thing is strategy. because we do have some clients where they can get they have a petition pending, or they're about to file for a petition based on a family member, and then have to re-strategize. You have to think about the future, okay? Because when I hear of when people call in to us and we have a consultation and we hear, okay, well, for example, the marriage didn't work out, you got separated, did not end up getting the green residency, and then we find out that there was an like abusive incident, or victim of a crime, and there was an incident report, but it was like 10 years ago, for example. And we still check out, we like to solve problems, right? So we still check it out with the and contact the law enforcement agency, just to verify if they even have a policy on time restriction. But most do. I mean, every one of them that we've come across, for better or worse. So that's why it's important, my friends, to contact a licensed attorney, not just a consultant, notario. Some people call that. It does not. It's not just in the Spanish-speaking communities. It's a lot of different ethnicity groups have their own type of consultant who has no license. So you might be watching us right now, which we appreciate you following us. Great, appreciate that. Um, well, if you have any questions, welcome to drop in the comments. Of course, let's see what else to share with you. And really, here the kicker is, because let's say you already filed it, and yeah, you get divorced. Um, and then even for removed conditions, right? People think like, okay, well, I got my conditional residence status now, the 2-year card. You remove the conditions. Let's say you even file for based on waiver, based on divorce of the for the removed conditions. You can file jointly, of course, if you're still married. But if not, the default for us is if you get divorced, we file based on that. Okay, so you can still get the permanent residency. But let's say, but to get a successful decision on that, okay, you need to have the bona fides, um, evidence to show that your marriage was still bona fide, was legit, not a sham, not fake, throughout the marriage until the day of divorce, essentially. Okay. So, for example, like the joint bank account, things like that, or your lease together, or where you lived, those kind of documentation. And we've come across people that did not have that documentation, unfortunately, because they didn't have access to it and they moved out. So that's just something to think about if you're on the verge of possibly separating. Hot tip right here. If you're on the verge of possibly separating from your spouse and you're the foreign national with like conditional residence status, you might need to consider gathering those type of documents before you move out. Because I know some spouses like to keep the passwords to themselves, for example. So even if you could access online, you might not have the password. So you need to start future planning. Okay. And and by the way, if you do file remove conditions without based on divorce or separation, um, you don't need them to sign the form, the original sponsor. Okay. And also, if you do, another hot tip here, um, is that you don't have to wait to file remove conditions until you get divorced. You definitely want to file within that 90-day time period that they say, 90 days of the 2 years expiring on your conditional residence status. And because otherwise they're going to send your case to immigration court. They could be slower on that. Maybe depends on the local field office, but you definitely want to do not wait until you get the divorce order. You can always provide it to them later. Okay, that's a hot tip. So for those that are watching the channel, um, I hope you enjoy that. And by the way, speaking of that, if you don't mind, if you are still on and you enjoy the way we share content and share tips, please smash the like button. We greatly appreciate it. And let's see here. Where's my little thing here? And of course, if you're new to our channel, please click the bell and subscribe so you get all the future notifications of our shows and tips. Okay. And by the way, the best way to access, to schedule a consultation with us, okay, you could do it on your own, but the best way is go to our website, greencardguys.com, click on contact us, scroll down, click on take quiz, just answer a couple questions. We won't take too much of your time, but answer a couple questions so we have a better idea how we can help you and guide you, point you in a better direction. Okay. And then after you complete that form, on the next page, you'll be able to self schedule an appointment for free 15 minutes. And so pretty soon I'll be sharing the secret code to unlock those free 15 minutes. And let's see, got a comment. Okay, TE, I think you commented the other day that you couldn't hear me. So I guess you can hear me today. I guess I fixed something on my mic. Let's see here. Uh, Man, y'all got to throw me some questions. Anything. Happy to answer. There's so much going on with immigration, of course, USCIS, and the State Department. We do have some successful stories to share with you. I have a ton to share. Sometimes I forget to share it, but for example, uh, s- I just mentioned this the other day, but there's a little bit more detail. Is that we were able to get USCIS and the National Visa Center to approve expedited request. Okay. So because you get USCIS and then they just got the visa last week. So that's great. That was out in Japan and Tokyo, Japan. But here's the deal. I think there's a lot of confusion out there in terms of like which agency handles what. Of course, we try to manage expectations. We share as much knowledge as possible with our clients on the steps. We have it as PDF. We talk about it all the time because these processing times are getting ridiculous. So, with that being said, just because you get an expedite request granted or approved by USCIS does not mean it's going to speed you all the way through until the visa interview for the residency status. That's not how it works. Okay, each part, each step, each phase of the case has a separate agency handling your case. So you're gonna have to submit another request. Okay, depending where your case is located. So keep that in mind because I know some people have asked us, like, how come USS granted the expedite request? How come it's hasn't moved to the visa interview? That's where it's still about 500,000 cases waiting for the interview. Okay, there's also a delay when people get the petition approved, and typically it takes about a month on average for NVC to issue a new case number, starting with the first three letters are based on the consular embassy that your interview will be located, then a bunch of numbers. But that's done by email sent to you and your attorney if you have one. Um, Attorney of record, meaning that they have filed, a representation form with their name on it. So, so keep that in mind because if you're, I share with you the timing of that after a petition is approved and you have a case in the consular abroad outside the United States, the beneficiary foreign national, because some emails get stuck in spam. Okay. And you do not want to be waiting and waiting and thinking like, okay, what the heck is going on? Or why is my attorney not doing this? Or just whatever reason. When your petition is approved, just check at least once a week your spam box, okay, for that case number. It's going to be from National Visa Center after petition is approved, and if you have a family beneficiary, a family member outside the United States, okay. So that's when they come in to get involved, National Visa Center. All right, so thanks for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and share the secret code here. Here are the benefits of hiring our team. Of course, there's just a few here. The one I hear most common is the fast turnaround. People want to know when we're going to file the case. Secret code down there, Green Card Guys. If you are a subscriber to our channel, you definitely know the code already. And thanks for tuning in again. But yeah, in terms of timing to file one of our benefits, we have 3 different plans. Okay, and the Max, Pro, and Light. Max, of course, covers as much services as possible, including responding to requests for evidence, because sometimes you might not be able to get all the documents we want that we recommend from our checklist. but you want to file a case because you just want to get started. You want to get the work permit. So we completely understand. Um, it also includes our representation, attorney representation at the interview. But every case, depending on the case, the benefits are different. But timing to file, the earliest we can file is 15 days. That's about 2 weeks. 2 weeks from you hire us, okay, it's possible. We are very intentional because we know that you may have been waiting a long time already for your status. And we know already that USCIS and the government in general for immigration benefit take a very long time. So we offer that service as intentional as we can be. But generally, the max plan is 30 days. You would have to pay a little bit extra for the 15 days, of course. Um, and the pro plan is usually 60 days, and then light plan is either 60 or 90 days. Okay, so either way, we're very intentional when we file it. There could be a couple times we might need a couple extra days, and we talk with you about it, of course. But generally, everyone's been happy. We do our best to seek feedback on the customer service. We send a link pretty much for every client email because even if it's negative, we want to hear it. Okay, we want to know what's going on your end, and see how we can help you the best that we can. Okay, so again, recap if you're just tuning in. The topic for today is what if my marriage fails? Okay, but even though it's phrased that way, of course, you might not know that. You won't know that at the beginning of your marriage or when you get engaged. But, for those who, especially if you're not married yet and you are eligible and qualified to file for something called like U visa, victim of a crime, it doesn't have to be based on your significant other. But that one is helpful for those who have significant other and that person doesn't have status because U visa does not require to show the status of the perpetrator or abuser, for example. Um, but in terms of VAWA, that is required to show status for the abuser. So that's why it just depends. But anyway, the quick recap, the takeaway here in this live show is that for our legal team, we recommend to file for if that is available and you're filing through marriage to file for both. Okay, because otherwise those applications might not be eligible. You might not be able to take advantage of that in the future. Okay, based on an old incident. Okay, so that's a key takeaway, folks. I think many attorneys don't want to accuse anyone, but I think that's a key difference of our team. Okay, let's just put it that way. The key difference. We have a lot of differences. I think that's beneficial for many people, but that's one way to prevent an immigration problem, friends. Okay, so you got the secret code, and by the way, we do have I I plunged into TikTok and I created an account, Green Card Guys _John. So please give it a follow if you are on TikTok. If you're not on it, it's cool. I definitely understand. I was trying not to join, but let's see here. Okay, friends, if you have a chance, click on our website and download the free guide. Okay, and until next time, have a great day.